started. My name is Abel. I am the president of ACP, and we are a low voltage distributor, and we're here to showcase Grandstream today. We, a lot of our dealers that know us, we selectively choose manufacturers that provide significant value. We are not just a typical distributor that just pulls in any random manufacturer. We want to make sure we select manufacturers that have unique features and work well in today's market. So today we have Grandstream, and they're going to showcase their routers, switches, and access points. One of the things we like about their products is really about their cloud-based controller. That eliminates the need for another hardware product, another failure point, and even another added cost. So their cloud controller is 100% free. It is included with their product, and it gives kind of dealers a chance to roll out products that simple as one access point, one router, and have full remote IT management. And that is a really key function. For those of you that have seen other product lines, you have to have a separate controller, which even adds another 100 bucks, 150, or even maybe you're having to install another computer on site just to have remote access. This cloud-based controller is really unique, and it's free. So with that, I'd like to introduce David from Grandstream, and he'll present more details about the Grandstream product line.
Perfect. Thank you, Abel. And I guess to introduce myself really quick, like Abel said, my name's Dave Richards. I'm the head of sales for the networking products here in the North American region for Grandstream. And I got to say, you know, I'm really excited to be here presenting in front of everyone. We've been partnering with ACP for roughly about a year now, and this is our first joint webinar together. So it's really great to be able to get in front of, you know, their reseller base, their customer base, and to really, you know, preach the Grandstream gospel. So, you know, for today, we're going to do more of an introduction to who Grandstream is. We'll cover some of the products in our portfolio. I will say we have roughly 189 products, so we're not going to get through all of them, but we'll highlight a lot on the networking side of the house, and then we'll highlight some of the new products that are coming out later this year and early next year. So just a quick housekeeping before I do jump in. We are also joined by Danny Lynn. He is on our support team and is really the brains behind the operation. So if you have any questions at all as we're going, feel free to just put them in the chat. He'll be monitoring that, answering your questions as we go. And I'll pause at a couple of points throughout the webinar just to make sure that we're caught up on questions and see if there's anything that, you know, we need to address live. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in. There we go. Okay. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Grandstream, I do want to do a quick overview of who we are. And you'll probably hear me say this a few times today, but we do consider ourselves a one-stop shop for all networking, unified communications, and facility management solutions. We were founded in 2002 and are headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts. We are a privately owned company. And as of our last count, I believe this was done a year or two ago, we are used and sold in over 150 different countries. So very global presence here. And I did make note of this earlier. We do have over 180 plus different products in our portfolio. So today we'll be drilling down on the networking and converged side of the house. We can also provide additional information on the unified communication side on a future webinar if that's something that everyone is interested in. A few notes that you may not know about Grandstream. We are the #2 global provider of IP desktop phones, second to Yealink. And we are the largest global provider of IP video phones, Wi-Fi IP phones, and ATAs. And the last point here to note is that our fastest growing product line is our network solutions. And I would say that's been about 6 years now. That's been our fastest growing product line. All right, move on just to make sure that I can see the chat here. All right, and as I mentioned, we are a one-stop shop for all of your communications needs. As I talk to customers in the marketplace, I've come to find that most people know us for the unified communications, as that was our bread and butter for so long. But if you look on the left side of the screen, that kind of gives you an idea of everything that is in our unified communications portfolio. And with networking being the fastest growing product line, on the right kind of gives you an idea of what is in our portfolio. And we are going to drill into a lot of those categories here today. And the last thing that we're going to touch on is something that I'm really excited about. We have been working to come out with a series of converged solutions where, in a nutshell, we're taking our unified communications products and our networking products, and we are converging them into an all-in-one device. There are multiple different models where you get the functionality of 4 different products into one device. So we'll touch on those here later in the webinar, but just as an overview of what Grandstream currently offers, I wanted to highlight this slide. So before we get into some of the products, I think it's really important to kind of talk about, why should you care about Grandstream and, what some of our competitive advantages are, or why you might consider testing our products and using them. So I'm going to highlight a few of these. First and foremost, all of our networking products, anything that falls within the GWN or GCC categories, will come with a 3-year warranty out of the box. You don't have to pay to upgrade that warranty. There's no subscription or anything. That is just included right out of the box. One thing that Abel highlighted in the beginning was that we offer free management. And it is not just in the form of a virtual controller. So we have 3 different platforms that are all free that will allow you to manage your devices. The first, which is our cloud-based management platform, that is called GDMS, or Grandstream Device Management System. We do also offer GWN Manager, which is essentially the same thing as GDMS, except it's a software version. So you can download that from our website onto your local server for your local deployments. And the last one is, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but all of our networking products do come with an embedded controller. And on average, you're going to be able to manage between 50 and 100 devices with that embedded controller, depending on the model that you choose as the master controller. So you don't have to purchase that separate. We don't charge upgrade or licensing fees on our management platform. We don't give you X amount of devices for free and then pay for additional. They are all completely free management platforms. And a few other reasons here. All of our products, they are going to come secure out of the box with your enterprise grade security. We offer multiple easy installation options. So if you do utilize the GDMS or cloud-based management platform, we have a mobile app. It allows you to essentially scan a barcode to upload it into that portal where you can do your configuring from there. So we offer a lot of easy ways to deploy and install these devices. And with that comes the remote management. So for all of the, the IT companies, the system integrators, the service providers who are regularly doing truck rolls to, go do troubleshooting, the remote management will definitely save you a lot of time and truck roll fees to troubleshoot devices. There's multiple advanced features, and I will touch on this a little bit later, but some of those include the captive portals, creating your mesh network, your VPN, quality of service, and more. Already touched on the one-stop shop, so I'm not going to do that one again, but the last point here, and I know this isn't quite as big of a deal as it was during COVID, but all of the products we'll talk about today, they are in stock. And they are available now. So ACP will be able to help quote and source these products for you. So before we get into the products, two more things I want to touch on here. I mentioned GDMS, which is our cloud-based management platform. A few things with this. You can download this for free today. At the bottom of the screen, you can see gdms.cloud. You can go in there and create a free account. And that is used to manage both our unified communications and networking products. There's no limit to the amount of devices that you can put in there. We have set an arbitrarily a number of 1 million devices in there, but what I've told everyone, if you get to 1 million devices in that platform, call me immediately and we will make sure that we can get additional in there for you. And then a couple other things here. I did touch on GWN Manager. Like I mentioned, that is the software version of GDMS.cloud. So there's a lot of people out there that either don't want to manage their network in the cloud, or certain industries you just can't manage your network in the cloud. So GWN Manager is a free solution that you can use in this case. Really the big difference between GWN Manager and GDMS is that with GWN Manager, you are limited to 3,000 devices that you can manage. And then for your smaller deployments, your smaller local deployments, like I mentioned, all of our networking products do come with an embedded controller. You don't have to purchase that separately. Like with some manufacturers, it's just embedded in your device. And you'll be able to manage between 50 and 100 additional access points, depending on the model that you choose as your master. All right, so one more slide here before we start getting into the product. And this wasn't on our competitive advantage slide, but I do think it's worth noting. And I want to touch on our support process a little bit. So Grandstream does offer free support, and we have a US-based support team. Anyone that you'll talk to on our support team will be based here in the US. And primarily, that is going to start through our help desk. I did include a link here. I understand there's a lot of links on this page, so I'm happy to send these out after the webinar. That way you have them. And for all of our resellers, MSPs, service providers, system integrators, essentially anything except for an end user, you do have the option to dial in and speak with your solutions engineer instead of going back and forth in the help desk. So I've provided that phone number here, and I've even given the options. Once you dial into that number, it's just IVR option 2, and then IVR option 1 for North America. There are 2 things that you have to get through on that phone call. You do need to go in and submit a trouble ticket. So you'll need to provide them with the trouble ticket. And then you'll also need to provide your reseller ID. If that's something you don't have, you can always reach out to me. On all of these webinars, I do include my email at the end. So if you need help locating your reseller ID, I would be more than happy to help you with that. But a few other forms of support. We do have a documentation center, which I recommend everybody go to if you are using our products. It's going to have anything from your technical guides, your user and installation guides, and we do have a very detailed forum on there where all of our customers who may run across an issue or may have ideas on how to use the products, there are multiple threads within that forum that you can search for via product or issue. So I do recommend utilizing that as a support method. And then a couple others here. We do have a detailed FAQ page on our website. I have a direct link to that here. We post all of our firmware on our website, and we also give you the link to download the updated firmware as well. That's all through this link here, but again, you can get to it through our direct website under the support tab. And then Grandstream certifications. This is something that we have been pushing pretty heavily over the last couple of years, and that is all done through our Grandstream Academy. So we do offer virtual trainings in the Grandstream Academy and in-person trainings where you can get certified on both our UC and our networking products. I do have a link here to our Academy page where you can find a list of the virtual trainings that you can do, as well as a list of the in-person trainings that you can attend. So highly recommend that for anybody who is looking to sell and support Grandstream products. It is a great 2-day course where you go very in-depth into the content of these products. And the last thing I'll note here for support is our Grandstream YouTube page. Our support team is pushing out, on average, a couple videos a week, and those can range anywhere from installation, configuring different products through the GDMS portal, highlighting different features we have, and a lot more. So if you are looking for more detail, or I would say technical detail on Grandstream's products, features, and offerings, I'd highly recommend checking out the Grandstream YouTube page. All right, so we're going to start with the networking products, and everything that Grandstream offers in the networking product line is going to fall under what's called the GWN series. And there's going to be 3 main categories here. We have our networking switches, and you can see listed under there, we have multiple subcategories from your layer 3 managed switches, your aggregation switches, layer 2 plus, layer 2 light, and unmanaged switches. And then we have our Wi-Fi access points, which are separated between both indoor and outdoor access points. We have both Wi-Fi 5 and Wi-Fi 6 in both. And then we do offer multiple different mounting options with our access points. So we've got in-wall mounts, we've got desk mounts, and then we do have the traditional ceiling mounts as well. And the last point there on the access points is we do offer Wi-Fi 6E access points. I am going to talk about this a little bit later during the access points, but we have had, I'd say, a lot of requests for Wi-Fi 7 access points, and those are on the roadmap. We actually have just confirmed 5 Wi-Fi 7 models that'll be coming out towards the end of this year, early next year. So in a few slides, we will touch on those as well, but as of now, this is everything that is in the portfolio and available. And the last category here is going to be your gigabit routers, and those are going to come in the form of both wireless Wi-Fi routers and wired VPN routers. All right, so I'll start here with the indoor access points, and I'm not going to go through every single one, but I do want to highlight a few differences here. So everything that is on the top row, I don't think it's going to let me put my cursor over here, but yes, the top row, there are 6 Wi-Fi 5 indoor access points. And everything on the bottom row is going to be the Wi-Fi 6 access points. So we have 5 Wi-Fi 6 access points, and the bottom right, the GWN 7665, that is going to be the Wi-Fi 6E access point. And as I mentioned on the previous slide, we do have plans to launch 5 Wi-Fi 7 models. Those will come in both indoor and outdoor options. So one of the things that I think is important to note with our access points is we include every feature that is available on our Wi-Fi access points across the board. What I mean by that is you don't have to purchase a separate tier of a product or a separate license to get access to things like captive portals or creating mesh networks. All of the features are included across the board. And then every single access point that is on this page does come with an embedded controller. I believe with the access points, on average, you're going to be able to manage 50 Grandstream access points. All of these can also be managed in the cloud or with GWN Manager. And there are quite a bit here. So they're going to range anywhere from a 2x2 multi-user MIMO, a 4x4 multi-user MIMO, and then we also have a couple of hybrid models that are going to allow you to do the 2x2 on a 2.4 gigahertz band and a 4x4 on a 5 gigahertz band. So these are really going to be for the the people that they want that 4x4 ability, but they don't want to pay for the full-blown 4x4. So as long as you're using that hybrid access point on the 5 gigahertz band, you will be able to get access to that 4x4 MIMO. And the last thing here that I will note on the indoor access points is there are, you can tell by the picture, a few different types. We do have the standard ceiling mount access points, which will be all of the round circular pucks that you're seeing. And then there are 2 rectangular access points, so the GWN 7624 and the GWN 7661. These are going to be your in-wall mounted access points. And then the last one here, the GWN 7603, which is on the top left corner. I do have a slide on this one here in a minute, but this is going to be a desk mounted access point. All right, so I'm going to highlight 2 of the indoor access points. This one here is the GWN 7665. This is our first and likely our only Wi-Fi 6E access point. And this one launched in February of 2024. So this is a tri-band. You get the 2x2 multi-user MIMO on all the 2.4, 5.0, and 6 gigahertz bands. It does have an aggregate wireless throughput of 5.4 gigabits per second, a coverage range of 175 meters, and it does support up to 384 concurrent clients. And one feature here that I do like to note, we've recently spent a lot of time at hospitality shows, and this was one of the features that was highly requested in that market, is having the BLE or the Bluetooth low energy. And primarily this is going to be used in your IoT and location services. And with this access point, the same as the others, you can manage it with GDMS, GWN Manager, or with the embedded controller. So as far as deployments go, I like to say this is primarily going to be for your medium to high user density deployments, but can also be your SMB, your small to medium sized business. You've got your multiple floor buildings, your residential settings, and your commercial locations. All right, I do want to highlight the 7603 because I think this is a very unique access point. And I say that because it's essentially going to be a switch and an access point in one. So with this device, you are going to get 4 gigabit Ethernet ports. 3 of those are going to be PoE output ports that you can use to connect multiple PoE endpoints. Two of those three are also going to feature the PSE. So this device, the coverage range is a little bit lower. It has a 100-meter coverage range, and it does support up to 100 Wi-Fi clients. So what we're seeing with this device is most people are using this in the hospitality industry and primarily for your in-room connectivity. So what they're doing is you would mount this underneath a desk and then use those Ethernet ports to power the IP phone, the IP computer, the IP TV, or what other any other IP endpoints that you may have in the hotel room. And we've also noticed a big uptick in people that are using this device in the SMB marketplace, primarily when they are deploying it in conjunction with a POS system. And a few other options here. You know, I think this plays well in the small office, the home office, or the Soho space. And because this device has been so popular so far this first half of the year, we are going to come out with a Wi-Fi 6 version of it, and that is going to be called the GWN 7604. And we are expecting that to release by the end of Q4 this year. All right, so this next slide, I want to put it up to give you an idea of kind of, you know, where Grandstream falls in the marketplace. So obviously, I'm not going to go through all of these specs, but I do want to compare a Grandstream access point. This is the GWN 7660E, which is one of our newest ones, to the TP-Link EAP 650. And the Netgear WAX 615. So really the big things here is that we are offering 3 free management platforms with our access point. TP-Link does also have the, you know, the management platforms. From what I understand, you do have to purchase a separate controller for that. And with Netgear, they do include,
just because so ACP also carries TP-Link, and so we know this product line. So that for the TP-Link line, you have to buy the OC200 controller, which is another $100 localized controller. They have 0 cloud interface.
Got it. Understood. Okay. So you are going to be purchasing a separate controller for the TP-Link one. And from what our marketing team found out with the Netgear one is that you can manage theirs using Insight, but they're only giving you 1 year free. And then after that, you do need to purchase separate subscriptions. So from a Grandstream standpoint, you're going to get all of the management for free without having to purchase anything separate. So a few other differences here is with the 7660. This is the only model where you get a 3x3 multi-user MIMO option. With the rest of them, they are going to be 2x2. Now with the 7660 on the 2.4 gigahertz band, it is 2x2, but if you use the 5 gigahertz band, you're going to get a 3x3 offering. So you're going to get slightly more you know, options with the increased number of antennas there. And really, to drive home the point here in the comparison, our list price for the GWN 7660, this is the MSRP price, is $79. There were multiple prices, but the average price that I was able to find for TP-Link on Amazon was around $129.99. And for the Netgear, according to their website, that one is coming in at $189.99. So with our access points, you are getting multiple of the same features, if not a lot more functionality at the very least $50 less of the cost that you're going to pay for some of these other manufacturers. So that's really the point I want to drive home with this slide. All right, so we'll move on to the outdoor access points. Currently, there are 4 in the portfolio. We do have a few more coming out, and we are actually going through a little bit of a design change on these. So the first 2, the 7605 LR and the 7630 LR on the left, those are going to be the Wi-Fi 5 models. These do have the external antenna. And then the 2 on the right, the 7660 ELR and the 7664 ELR, which actually were just launched within the last week or so. These have moved to an internal antenna design and are the Wi-Fi 6 versions. So all of these models do have weatherproof ratings. Under one caveat is that when you install it, you do need to install it vertically. I will highlight one of these here. So for the 7660 ELR, like I mentioned, this one was just released last month. You're going to get the 3 gigabits of wireless throughput. It's going to support 256 concurrent clients. It does offer a dual band 2x2 MIMO. And this particular model is rated at IP67. And then again, with these, the same as our other access points, you can manage these for free via GDMS, GWN Manager, or through the embedded controller that is within the model. This particular model can manage up to 50 local GWN access points. And then I will pull up a quick comparison guide here to the outdoor access points. So with this, we've got the GWN 7660 ELR that we just talked about. We do have the Unify U6 mesh and the Aruba AP565. So with these models, obviously with Grandstream, I've mentioned a million times, you do get the 3 free management options. With the Unify U6 mesh, they do have a free controller, but you do need to pay for the cloud hosted options. So that's going to lead to an additional cost for management. And then with the Aruba AP565, this could be managed with their Aruba Central or Aruba Wave, but both of these platforms do require subscriptions to use. And then the last thing here to touch on about the differences is with the GWN 7660 ELR, this features a coverage range of 300 meters, which is significantly more than the 140 meters you're going to see on the U6. Now, marketing didn't have a range for Arubas, so we're going to just leave that one blank. But when we look at the price comparison on these, the list price on the GWN 7660 ELR is only $115. And according to Ubiquity's website, the U6 mesh is going for $179. And according to Aruba's Amazon store, this device is going for $989. So pretty big difference in the pricing here, especially when you are getting significantly more features on the Grandstream model. All right, and before I transition into our network switches, I do want to touch on a few things here. I've mentioned a few times that we are coming out with multiple Wi-Fi 7 models. There's been a big request for Wi-Fi 7, and from a personal standpoint, I think it's still a little bit early with the amount of endpoints that don't support Wi-Fi 7, but I feel like the market has spoken and they want Wi-Fi 7 access points. So we are going to accommodate that and launch initially these 5 models with more to come later in the year next year. So I'll briefly go through these. I don't have all of the details on them, but the top one, the GWN 7670, this is going to be a 2x2 dual band ceiling mounted access point. And we are going to put a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port that supports PoE and PoE Plus. And with all of these Wi-Fi 7 models, we are going to add the BLE feature to them. The second one down the list is essentially the same device as the 7670, except it's wall mounted. So the WM on the SKU is going to indicate that this is a wall mounted access point as opposed to a ceiling mounted access point. And another, a similar theme that you'll notice, the third one down the line, the GWN 7670 LR. LR is going to stand for long range or outdoor. So this will be very similar to the other two, except it is a outdoor rated access point with an IP67 weather rating. And the antennas on this device will be internal as opposed to external. Same ports, same BLE feature on this one. Now the fourth one down, the 7672, this is going to be a 2x2x2 tri-band access point. So it will open the 2.4, 5.0, and the 6 gigahertz bands. We are including that 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, but we are also going to add a 10 gig SFP plus port to this device. And if you haven't noticed the trend yet already, the next model of the 7674, this is going to be a 2x4x4 tri-band access point. This one is going to have a 10 gigabit Ethernet port that supports PoE Plus and PoE Plus. And we will also include that 10 gig SFP Plus port on this, as well as the BLE. So I'm going to pause there. It's kind of hard for me to monitor the track, but I just want to make sure that we aren't missing any questions here. It's like Abel and Danny have been pretty busy. All right, it looks like we're caught up. I'm going to go ahead and move on then. All right, so we're going to cover network switches. And if there is anything that you can take away from this today, Grandstream has a lot of flavors. So a lot of different switches depending on your specific use case. So 4 categories here that I'm going to show. We've actually recently just added a 5th, which we'll touch on towards the end of the switches. So we've got our layer 3 aggregation switches, our layer 3 managed network switch, layer 2+ managed network switches, and we have quite a bit of on-managed switches, and there are a few of those that come in a multi-gig version. So I'm going to start with the layer 3 aggregation switch because these are primarily geared towards the enterprise market. We do have 3 models currently, and they do come in multiple port configurations. So we have models with either 2 or 4 gigabit ports, or 6 or 12 gigabit SFP ports, and 4 or 12 10 gigabit SFP plus ports. And all of these models, again, they can be managed in GDMS, the GWN manager, or utilizing the local web user interface. I'm going to go back really quick. There is one model here as well that I think is worth pointing out on the 7831. I'm not going to be able to get my cursor over here, but the model there in the middle, you can kind of see the yellow box going across the ports on the left. We do include combo ports on that model as well. All right, so we'll move on to layer 3 managed network switches. Currently, we do have 7 models in this lineup. And these are going to come in 8, 16, 24, or 48 gigabit port configurations. And they do have 2, 4, or 6 10 gigabit SFP plus ports. And we also have, these are going to come in models that are either PoE or non-PoE. And there's really going to be, we'll touch on the layer 2+ here in a second, but there's going to be 2 main differences between our layer 3 managed switches and our layer 2+ managed switches. So the first one is that our layer 3 switches have support for dynamic routing, and our layer 2+ switches are going to have support for static routing. And really, if you're not familiar with dynamic routing, it essentially means that the network is going to calculate the fastest way to get your traffic from point A to point B, depending on your scenario, and that'll happen automatically. The second big difference is going to be that our layer 3 switches have support for Pro AV protocols. And those are going to include your Dante, your SD-VOE, your AES 67. And these are really just going to be your professional industry protocols that are specifically designed to help minimize latency in your audio video deployments. So I'm going to give you a comparison here to kind of show you where we fit in the switch market. So I've got a Ubiquity, Netgear, and a Meraki switch to compare to our GWN 7816P, which is going to be our 48-port PoE layer 3 managed switch. So really a couple things to call out here are going to be around the QoS. So the 7816P, the Netgear, and the Meraki, they all have QoS, whereas the Unify version does not have QoS. So with the 7816P, this is the only model that's going to support PoE++ on 8 out of the 48 ports. And with the 7816P, we have 48 PoE ports and 6 SFP+ ports, which is going to be more than the Unify version. Netgear and Meraki do have the same number of PoE ports, but they only have 4 SFP+ ports. And the last thing about the ports is that the 7816P is the only model on this comparison chart that has a auxiliary port. So I'm not going to go too much into the pricing difference here. I've got the pricing. This is all the MSRP pricing for all of these models. It's at the bottom of the page here on the very last row. And I think it's pretty obvious to see that with all of the features being nearly the same across the board and Grandstream offering a few additional things, we are still coming in significantly under the competition for the switches that we're offering. All right, so the next one is our layer 2+ managed switches. And I would say this is our most popular series of switches. So these vary from anywhere from 8 to 48 ports with both PoE and non-PoE versions. And on the PoE versions, these are full budget PoE, which really just means that you can provide full PoE power on every port at the same time. And all of these switches are cloud manageable as well. And they do include some advanced features. Some of those are going to include your QoS, your VLANs, your port security, link aggregation, and your spanning tree as well. And then they do also support both IPv4 and IPv6. Got a comparison chart here to show where our layer 2 switches fit in the market. We've got our 7806P. This one is our 48-port PoE version of the layer 2+ switch. And then we also have a Unify 48-port PoE switch and a Meraki 48-port switch as well. So with these, the 7806P and the Meraki, they do have QoS, where the Unify 48-port switch does not. With the 7806P, we have 48 PoE ports and 6 SFP ports, which is more than the Unify, which only has 32 PoE ports and 4 SFP ports. And then the Meraki has the same number of PoE ports as the 7806P, but it only has the 4 SFP ports. And again, with this one, the 7806P is the only model with an auxiliary port. Looking at the forwarding rate, so the 7806P has a forwarding rate of 160.704 megabytes, which is more than double of the Unify, which has a forwarding rate of 77.3. And the GWN 7806P has a higher forwarding rate than the Meraki, which only has a forwarding rate of 127.98. And then again, looking at the pricing on the bottom with all of the same features and even a few additional features over the competition, we are still coming in at the very least $200 to $250 under the competition here. All right, and the last category here is going to be our on-managed switches. There's not a whole lot to say on the on-managed switches. As you know, these are primarily going to be your plug-and-play switches, but I will kind of cover a little bit of the differentiators here. So we currently have 9 models, 4 with PoE and 5 without PoE. And these are going to come anywhere from 5 to 48 port configurations. And we do actually have a couple of models that are going to be considered our multi-gig, and they have speeds of up to 2.5 gigabit per second on the ports. So flash over to those here really quick. The GWN 7700M, the M is just going to stand for multi-gig. These will be our multi-gig on-managed switches. And these are going to come in 5 or 8 port configurations, and they will include 1 SFP plus port with 1 gig or 10 gig connectivity. All right, one last switch here before we switch up to the last product we'll cover today. This is a new switch that just launched a couple months ago. And these are going to fall into a new category, which we're calling the Layer 2 Lite managed network switches. So we currently have 2 models, the GWN 7711 and the GWN 7711P. And the P on the model name is just going to indicate a PoE version of that switch. So these are going to feature 8 1 gigabit Ethernet ports on both versions. The PoE version of this device is going to offer 4 configurable PoE and PoE plus output ports, or a 24-volt DC output. And one other feature that has been added to this device is the long-haul configurable cable mode of up to 200-meter cables. And the last note here is that you can mount these on either a desktop or a wall. They're a little too small for a rack, but you do have a couple of options for your routing there. And as far as the deployments go with this particular device, we're going to see these a lot in hotels, your home offices, your SMB space, and really anywhere where you need some management options. And you can't use an on-managed switch, but you don't quite want to pay for the full-blown Layer 2 Plus managed switches. So these are going to be a nice middle ground between the on-managed and Layer 2 Plus switches. All right, and the last product that I'm going to talk about today is going to fall under the converged solutions that I mentioned towards the beginning. So these are going to fall under what's called the GCC series. And essentially what this is this is going to be a all-in-one platform, and it's going to combine all of your business data, your security, your communication, and your collaboration needs into one device. And really, to simplify that and give you the direct answer as to what they are, it's going to take the functionality of your VPN router, your next-gen firewall, your IP-PBX, network switch, and depending on which model you get, the Wi-Fi access point. And it's going to take that functionality all into one device. So currently we have 3 GCC models, one of which is available to purchase now. That's going to be the GCC 6010. And we have 2 additional models that are coming out. I would expect them to be out by sometime in August. Our marketing team will be announcing that here shortly. But I will go to the next slide so we can take a look at all of the models. So the GCC 6010, which is on the left, that is the model that's available today. And with this one, you're going to get 2 2.5 gigabit SFP ports, 5 gigabit Ethernet ports, 4 of which are PoE outputs. And all of the ports on this model are WAN LAN configurable, but you get a maximum of 3 WAN ports. This device will have the functionality of a VPN router, a next generation firewall, and an IP PBX. And by default, this product is going to come with 12 users and 4 concurrent calls. You can upgrade this to give yourself more users and concurrent calls. I added a link here towards the bottom. I know it's kind of small. If you can't quite get it, I'd be happy to send it out after the webinar. But we have all of the upgrade options listed at that link. And I will note that with these, it is not a recurring cost to upgrade. It is just a one-time fee to upgrade and get additional users and concurrent calls. I know I've already mentioned this, but this is the model that is out and available today to order. The next model in the middle, the GCC 6010W, this one is going to come with 5 gigabit Ethernet ports, a Wi-Fi 6 access point, a VPN router, your next-gen firewall, and again, the IP PBX with 12 users and 4 concurrent calls with the option to upgrade to more. The last model is the GCC 6011. So this model is essentially the 6010 with a bigger switch. And what that looks like is 2 2.5 gigabit SFP ports and 10 gigabit Ethernet ports. The big difference here is you get 3 fixed WAN ports with this one as opposed to them all being configurable. You will get the VPN router, the next generation firewall, and again, the IP PBX. So we'll take a look at the target markets for the GCC series. I'll be honest, this product is not for everybody. But when you consider the number of ports on the switches, the number of users and call paths that are supported by the IP PBX, and the network speeds that are supported, the GCC 6000 series is really going to be designed and ideal for anybody that's in the small to medium-sized business, anything within retail, your single stores and chains, and also your service providers. So this is really going to give your SMB space a solution that's going to address all network security, communication needs, and everything's going to be under one product and one management portal. And this is going to be at a significantly lower cost of ownership when you compare what it would look like to purchasing all 4 of these products separately. This is also going to create a solution that is significantly easier to deploy and manage because everything is done from the same device and the same management portal. So then again, there are many, I know I mentioned service providers as a ideal target for this product. Many of the service providers, they're already providing all of the services that the GCC series is going to provide. But now what they could do is they can offer all of these services from one device, and they can easily deploy it into the residential or small business setting. And that's really going to allow them to provide and manage all of the customer services from one platform. And I know I mentioned we kind of focus this on SMB. We are coming out with additional models. These models will be targeted towards the enterprise space, so your larger businesses that need a lot more functionality. We will announce those products, I'm hoping early next year, but those are on our roadmap for 2025. And I do want to show this chart. Some of the feedback is, that we get around this is, why would I sell one device when, I can give my customers multiple devices? Well, with the GCC product, there are multiple add-ons and it supports all Grandstream endpoints. So this diagram is just really going to show you on how you can create a complete solution for your customers. So you've got your GCC product at the top, which is connected to the internet and managed through GDMS. And then you're going to attach a layer 2+ switch to it to power your Wi-Fi access points, which are in turn connected to your Wi-Fi phones, your computers, your desktops, and your laptops. And then on the other side, you can easily add a on-managed Grandstream switch to connect to your Ethernet IP endpoints, so your desk phones and your workstations as well. And that, that concludes all the content that I had for you today. Like I mentioned, I do put my contact information up here. If you need more information on anything or have any follow-up questions, I always leave my email up. You're more than welcome to reach out to me at any time. I'm going to pause here, though. I know Danny's going through the chat. I just wanted to make sure that we had everything answered or see if there were any other additional questions that we can address. Danny, you're good. It looks like you're getting into everything. Looks like Barry asked if there would be a replay to this webinar. I believe we are recording it, and our marketing manager will be posting it either through the Grandstream page, or we will send a copy over to ACP. But we will make sure